Welcome to our iReady Family Support Session. Beginning July 6th, all New Bedford Public School students, K-8, will have access to iReady thanks to our partnership with Curriculum Associates and Ready Classroom Math. With us today from Curriculum Associates and Ready Classroom, we have Lloyd. Hi, Lloyd. We've got Tony, and we have Brian.
Morning.
Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge those of us part of the New Bedford Public School families. If we can just take a moment and introduce ourselves. Ms. Gonzalez, can we start with you?
Yep. Hi, my name is Jasmine Gonzalez. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Hayden McFadden School. I have a 3rd grade daughter in Winslow. Yeah.
Do you have one question in mind that you'd like to ask the team?
Yeah, one question I have is, what is iReady, and how would my child be able to log into the iReady platform?
All right. Somebody want to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Wally Williams, principal at Keith Middle School. I'm wrapping my first full year here. At this point, I'm exploring, so I don't have any questions on hand yet. No, I will.
Proud father of New Bedford Public School students?
Absolutely, 3 of them. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
2 of whom are Keith Middle School students.
There you go. Represent proud. Ms. Swire.
Hi guys, I'm Crystal Swire. I have a daughter who goes to Roosevelt Middle School. She'll be going into the 8th grade. Her name's Skylar Freitas. And my question is, when will I be able to see my daughter's growth and progress?
Ms. Souza.
Good morning. My name's Brianna Souza. I have 2 girls actually I have 3, but one of them is in Vogue. She's a junior. She will be a senior. And then my middle one is going to be in 8th grade. Her name is Lindsay. She's at Keith Middle. And then I have an 8-year-old that is at Hathaway. My question is, what can I do to help my middle school 8th grader with the iReady? Because with the remote learning, I couldn't really help her with any of her math. I was struggling with it. Never mind.
Thank you. No worries. Awesome, thank you. And then from our central office team, Ms. Jackson.
Hi, good morning. My name is Charlenda Jackson, and I am the lead parent support specialist.
Mr. Vernay.
Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Jerry Vernay. I'm the wraparound manager for the New Bedford Public Schools.
And I'm Josh Almeida. I am the curriculum data and assessment manager for mathematics. My question to the team is, many of our families are already using some kind of math program. How does iReady compare to those that they might already be using? For example, how does it compare to like a Khan Academy? At this point, Curriculum Associates and Ready Classroom have shared a video designed to give families information that may or may not answer some of our questions. So this moment, I'm going to share my screen and share that video.
Hello, families. As a parent of 2 school-aged children, I know how challenging it is to keep young minds active and focused on schoolwork. It's tough, and it's weird right now for everyone. But together, we will ride this out, and we'll make sure that we keep our kids safe, happy, and learning. I work for a company, Curriculum Associates, and we have math and reading technology called iReady. Some of you may already be familiar with iReady from the reports your child's teacher may share and the online instruction your children engage in at home. But for those of you new to iReady, let me take a few minutes to explain. In a normal world, students take the iReady diagnostic assessment to determine what skills within reading and math students need to focus on. Then the system analyzes the data, and within seconds, students are automatically assigned digital lessons that teach and monitor these skills. It's a really cool system. However, right now, to help educators deliver content to students while students are at home, we have made some modifications. Students will not take the assessment. Instead, teachers assign instruction to their students directly. So it's a little out of the norm, but it's what's necessary right now. For families out there diving into iReady for the first time, there seem to be 3 burning questions that need answering. What is iReady and what do lessons look like? How do I log in and get my child started? And where can I see my child's progress? What is iReady and what do lessons look like? iReady online lessons provide students with rich instruction, practice, and feedback that allows them to learn a skill while promoting a growth mindset. The lessons also include a short, scored quiz to help you, your child, and your child's teacher know how they did. Lessons are based on research on effective online learning practices and are tested extensively with students to ensure they engage learning of all abilities and ages. How do I log in and get my child started? This depends on what kind of device you are using. If you are using an iPad, you need to download the free iReady for Students app from the App Store. From there, you'll want to work with your child's school because there are other variables to consider. Does your district use Clever or another student portal? How does your district want you to access the content? These are specific questions that we can't answer, but your school can. From a computer, whether it's a desktop or laptop, log into your child's school portal, then click on the iReady icon. If your child's school does not use a portal, visit iReady.com and log into iReady directly by using the student username and password provided by your teacher. Once logged in, your child can get started. Within the iReady online instruction program, your child will be able to select reading lessons or mathematics lessons. Note that some schools will have a single subject, in which case your child will only see that option on their screen. Teacher-assigned lessons. If your child is brand new to iReady, teacher-assigned lessons are the only lessons your child will see, and these lessons will only appear as a choice on the screen if the teacher has manually assigned lessons. Learning games. These games help your child build mathematical skills in fun ways. To access, your child will need to choose Math in the upper left-hand corner of the to-do screen, and then click on Learning Games in the bottom navigation bar. Note that learning games are available to students if the school is using iReady Mathematics and has enabled the use of the games for students. Where can I see my child's progress? You and your child can monitor progress by clicking on My Progress in the bottom navigation bar. On the My Progress page, you'll be able to see time on task, the number of minutes your child has spent this week on iReady online instruction, lessons passed, the number of lessons your child has passed this school year, lesson streak, how many lessons your child has passed in a row, and completed work, the names and quiz scores for each of the lessons your child has taken. You've heard it before, and I'll say it again. We're in this together. We're all doing our best to meet the needs of students no matter where their classroom might be. For more detailed information beyond this video, or to get tips on how to best support your child during this time of at-home learning, please visit iReady.com/at-home.
So for some of us, the video may have answered some of the questions, and they might have created some new ones. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Tony Lloyd, and Brian to address Ms. Gonzalez's question.
Yeah, well, first of all, Ms. Gonzalez, let's see, where are you on the screen? I don't have the names. Oh, there. All right, thank you so much for joining. Actually, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to partner with New Bedford, coming up in the coming school year. And just to answer your question, what is iReady? Mark covered a little bit of that, but it's basically a web-based adaptive diagnostic and instructional program for reading and mathematics. So a lot of the assets can be utilized at home. A lot of the assets can be utilized at school. And I think, Tony, if you want to go ahead and show what the screen will look like for a student screen, a student account.
We're good.
All right, so, and this will actually help answer another question. How does my child log? Let's see. There was one about how to log into iReady, I think.
Yes. How do I? Yeah, I think it was Ms. Gonzalez too who said, "How do my child log into iReady?" Okay.
So what you're seeing is the login screen, and basically what the child will do is click on Go, enter their username, their password. And Josh, too, are we going to have a different way of logging in? Are you going to use a single sign-on or something that's different from what you just showed?
Yep, so starting July 6th, all students will see iReady on their Clever platform. So by either swiping their badge or using their Clever login, they will have access to iReady through that Clever platform.
Excellent.
So you said, I'm sorry, Josh, you said we're doing reading and math, correct? Not just math?
It'll just be math K-8.
It'll just be math K-8. Okay, so they wouldn't have this option of going reading and math. Okay. So when your child logs in, this is their dashboard that they're going to get pretty familiar with, as they're working on their lessons. So what you're seeing in front of you here are two things. You're seeing something that's called My Path and one that's called Teacher Assigned. So in a typical world, like Lloyd explained to you all, your child takes a diagnostic assessment, which basically provides them a diagnosis in numbers and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement, data, and geometry, those 4 domains that exist in mathematics. And what they're able to do is take specific questions that are posed to them, and those are adaptive questions based on the correct answers that they're answering or incorrect answers that they're answering. And then they're then placed on a specific pathway. That specific pathway is generated due to their results from each of the 4 domains. So that's why you're seeing something here called the My Path. But as you saw in the video, we are not taking the diagnostic for the summer. We are skipping that piece and we're jumping right into specific teacher assigned lessons. So when your child logs in, you're not going to see 2 options. You're just going to see teacher assigned lessons that are right over here. And they'll have something that has a due date. And then they'll be brought up to the front based on when the due date is going to be assigned. And I believe, Josh, you mentioned that you'll be in charge of assigning those lessons for the students for the month of July. Is that correct?
Correct. So each student will have at least 16 assignments. And I would just tell parents to not be worried about the due date. So just ignore the due date, but we will have multiple lessons available to all students.
Perfect. So I know one of your questions was, how do I help my child? And what you'll see right here, right on the top right, is something called a family center. When you go to this family center, this was created just for you to support your child in understanding, tips and tools of how do I help my kid at home. Some frequently asked questions about iReady and Ready Classroom, and then Ready Classroom, which is the program that your child will be using in the fall along with iReady. This is the math core program that your child will be learning the mathematics through. So this is the family center. You have support pages in here. If you have trouble logging in, there's a support page in there for you as well. And then tips to support your child at home with their learning. And this brings you to basically a cheat sheet on logging into iReady. What are the necessary steps if they were to access resources within that student platform? I will pause here if there are any questions about the Family Center before I dive in a little bit deeper into the student dashboard.
Tony, I have a question about this screen.
Yes.
So just to clarify, right now we're seeing 3 teacher assigned lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned that I'll be assigning at least 16. How many will students see at one time?
Well, it depends on the grade level. So if your child is in K through 2, they will see 2 current and 2 past dues. And if your child is in grades 3 or above, they will see 5 current and 5 past dues assignments.
Then once they complete it, it'll disappear and a new one will pop up. Is that what will happen?
Correct. And then they could always go back to see the work that they've completed under the My Progress right down here.
Thanks,
so
Tony.
I know there was one question of how do I measure my students' growth and progress? I think it was Ms. Swire who posed that question. So these are the new lessons that your child will be working on, but you want to check on what was their progress? How did they do on those lessons? So the My Progress button right down here, I apologize because I don't have any data that's embedded, but you'll see this populated once your child starts working on it. You'll see how many minutes they've spent working on the lessons. You'll see how many lessons that they have passed, and you'll see a math streak. This is kind of like a reward system. We want to set goals with them. There are usually parents that set with their child that I want to see, at least 5 lessons in this as a streak. So this allows them to keep track of how many lessons they passed in a row without failing. And then down here, you'll see completed work. This will give you basically all of the past assignments that the child has completed. If you want to check on all the other lessons, if there's 16, Josh, let's say if they've already done 4, and you want to look at all the completed work, this is where it will all go along with the results. You'll see for lessons either a pass or a fail, and then a score for that particular lesson.
And how many attempts do they have to pass a quiz?
Great question. So once a child completes a lesson, and let's say that they are not successful and they fail the quiz, they have another opportunity to take the lesson again and to complete the quiz. Should they fail it again, they will be then given or moving on to the next lesson that's in the sequence.
Great. And again, just through our summer learning program, there will be teachers posting videos. So if your student is not successful in passing the quiz the first time, we will have resources on our summer learning website which will include videos from teachers in our district that will address these topics and quiz questions.
That's awesome. And just on that too, Ms. Sousa, you're asking, what can I do to help my middle school 8th grade student? And I love that too. When I was teaching 8th grade, even too, how do we encourage our students to do the work, especially in a remote situation? And the first thing is just you asking the question is like, what can I do to help? Is talking to the student about doing the work, setting up an environment, that's as least distractions as possible. My daughters have the attention span of a gnat. I have a 2nd grader and a 5th grader. So sometimes maybe breaking up the day into where they just work on it maybe 15 or 20 minutes at a time, breaking that day up so they're not sitting there looking at the screen too long. And then the Family Center too has some options, some other ideas too on how to set up a good environment to work on the iReady program.
Are you able to show us what an 8th grader would actually see? Like, what instruction do they get prior to answering any questions? What does that look like on their end?
Sure. Yeah.
So what I actually have set up is a 6th grader. Would that work? I mean, it's going to function the same way.
Yes.
Okay.
So
this is an example of a 6th grader. So I've already I pretended there were some lessons that were assigned to 6th graders. I love decimals, so I went and chose decimals. I'll show you if your child is logging in, whether they're working on decimals or in 8th grade, they're working on systems of equations, it's going to function the same way. So we'll open up the lesson. So when we enter into this lesson, you're able to see while it's loading how many coins it's going to take for your kid to be able to pass this. They'll earn coins, and then they'll be able to trade in coins to play a little mini games in the system, kind of like a reward system here. You'll look at the objectives, and then you're able to check what are the necessarily objectives that are going to be targeted within this particular lesson. And then we go next, and then the lesson begins.
Yo, PJ, I just heard from the space agency. They want our help.
Really? They want us to help? With what?
They heard we are precise with our baking and our math. They need us to make boxes for baked treats to bring with them into space. The dimensions need to be super precise.
How precise are we talking?
They need a cupcake box that is 10 and 348 thousandths inches wide and a cookie box that is 4 and 178 thousandths inches wide.
So it gives you kind of the scenario of what we're going to be working with here. Then we click next.
Estimate the total width of the boxes.
And then it provides me here with an opportunity for me to answer. And if I miss the directions, I can then click it again.
The cupcake box is 10 and 348 thousandths inches wide. The cookie box is 4 and 178 thousandths inches wide. Estimate the total width of the boxes.
Okay, so let's say for the sake, we're going to estimate 10 and 4, so 15.
Sweet. The cupcake box is a little more than 10 inches wide, and the cookie box is a little more than 4 inches wide. So the total width is a little more than 14 inches.
So what I'm going to show you here is what happens if a child answers it incorrectly, what kind of feedback.
What is the total width of the two boxes?
So let's say we answered this 6, but we forget to regroup. So then we'll just put this 1. This says a 4, 4, and a 1.
Let me break it down. Start by adding the thousandths. 8 thousandths plus 8 thousandths is 16 thousandths, or 100th and 6 thousandths. Try again.
So it provides you feedback. It gives you an opportunity to then try it again. I showed me that the regrouping that happened here. So now I know that I'm going to put 12 here. Then I'm going to put a 5, 4, and a 1. Then I'm ready.
Sweet.
So I can literally go all day. I enjoy these lessons so much, and hopefully the students as well, because it provides them an opportunity to get the practice that they need, but then they have immediate feedback right on the spot should they get something that's incorrect, and then they provided that feedback to then retry it another time.
Great. Seems very helpful.
And on that note, Josh, too, you're asking, like, what's the difference between iReady and Khan Academy? We just saw from that lesson, too, the children are involved in the lessons. They're going through the lessons. The students are having some productive struggle. They're getting some scaffolded feedback on a multi-grade level situation. So we're really doing some explicit instruction at the beginning of the lesson. Later on in the lessons, they'll see a lot of opportunities to practice the things that they learn in that lesson. And then there's always a quiz at the end of the lesson. Whereas some of the other things I've seen out there are more just showing the students tutorials and showing them the mathematical concepts. With the iReady program, they're really digging into the concepts, digging into the lessons, having time for that productive struggle to get things right, to get things wrong with some corrective feedback. So really trying to help the students understand these difficult math topics.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Josh, when you're looking at Khan Academy, it's a skill that's being presented to the students. They watch a video and then they go practice that skill. Where here you're looking at multiple representations, and that's really what builds into that fluency and conceptual understanding for students, that they're seeing it. As you saw, just from 2 problems, you went from estimation to a standard algorithm of adding decimals. So it's not just one skill that's being practiced here. It's a multiple representation that's being shown to the students, so they're able to build a bank of knowledge on those math skills.
I like the interactive piece where it's like, I got it wrong. You tell me like where I got it wrong, not that just it's wrong. And then you also build in those scaffolds to support me and the student and like, how do I move forward? So I think that's what makes the program unique and different from others. It's very, very helpful. What would you say to a parent who finds that their student is finishing the work pretty quickly? Are there other opportunities where students can learn via, I saw a tab there called Learning Games?
Yeah, actually, let me go back to sharing the screen. So if the students are going through the mathematics pretty quickly, through the lessons, which is going to happen in some use cases, they can always access learning games. So the students will have opportunities to work with these games if they're finishing their lessons pretty quickly, or if they're struggling with fluency, if they're struggling with the mathematics. And this is where they're matching. This is where you're learning how to play the game. You're matching different parts of it. There's always a quick tutorial at the beginning. So you'll start to see different representations of numbers. And see the 5, the hand, the 5, and the dots, the 5. 3. Oh, I did that wrong. So that's what happens when you get it wrong. Haven't had all my coffee yet. And then when they launch the games, they can choose different types. And we can even get into difficult games. They're seeing this. Yeah, so 2 groups of 5, 3 groups of 3, 5 and 2, 6 and 6. So forth and so on. Other questions? We can keep playing the game.
I had one more.
Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, are you going to have any available resources in different languages that might be easier for families to access?
Yeah, so right now we're working on, in kindergarten, we're working on all the lessons will be in Spanish next year. We're starting out in kindergarten, rolling that out. Right now, predominantly, all the lessons are in English, but as we're producing new things too, we're taking into account different languages, and Spanish is the first one.
Yeah. So Jerry, just so you know, this summer, that'll be part of the summer learning platform where I will open up, I think right now there are 20 online instruction assignments that are in Spanish. So I'll give families the option to request those assignments for their students, if that's the preference. So again, right now for kindergarten, I think there's about 20 lessons that we have the option to assign to families, and we'll be doing those per request with Ms. Jackson's help.
And, how about the ability to just simply maybe highlight a word or two or a paragraph that they're struggling with translated? Is that an option or maybe a future possibility?
Yeah, so that's in some of the lessons they'll be doing that. They'll be highlighting academic vocabulary where the students can click on that vocabulary to get more information for that, and oftentimes they see the Spanish cognates for that vocabulary. It depends on the standard. It depends on the lesson.
Just so I'm clear on that answer. So are you saying that I could highlight a sentence as a student who's emerging as an English teacher, but I'm struggling with this particular sentence. I can highlight it and it will translate. Is that what you're saying, or that you don't have the ability for that?
I don't think it's the way it works the way you're saying it right now, as far as any lesson with any text, as far as highlighting that within like an accommodation within a lesson. What we do is when there's an academic vocabulary word like fractions that may trip up some students, you'll see that word highlighted. They can't physically highlight it there, but they could click on the word and it's going to open up some support within that lesson. Yeah. I just found a really quick example within, and I just grabbed the first lesson I could find. It was a kindergarten lesson here. But here's what you'll often see with academic vocabulary. Complete the equation. This is a first grade lesson, but it'd be similar, assets within the later lessons, kindergarten through 8th grade. But let's say a child would trip over, the word equation. The child can click on that word equation and see it in English as well as in Spanish with a little explanation on what that academic vocabulary represents.
And how about more of a cultural question? So I saw a lot of the examples of the activities, which I think are nice. They're colorful, they're engaging. Mm-hmm. I feel like with platforms like this that we've used in this remote time, the more engaging they are, the more participation rates are higher. It's just natural that I've seen. But I'm curious about, are they all neutral, or do any of them kind of touch upon anything cultural or entrepreneurial, or they kind of just very neutral?
Yeah, so it depends on the standard, depends on the lesson. To answer that question, yes, they do. We're very try to be more and more culturally responsive, I'll say. You'll see in Ready Classroom at the beginning of each unit too, there's entire sections on how we can help students be culturally responsive, or teachers bring up different culturally responsive ideas within the lesson, making sure that every student's participating in the conversation. With iReady, it's the same way. To get students engaged, oftentimes with a particular topic, we want to make sure they can have a connection between something they might see within their daily life. So yes, you'll see that in iReady. You'll see it in the Ready Classroom program too. The middle school as well as the elementary program, you'll see a lot of unit level. It's called cultural responsive sections at the beginning of a unit, where we give teachers ideas of maybe even changing some things in the lesson to attend to the different cultures represented in their classroom.
I have a question. So we've had a lot of struggle with kids doing lessons and quizzes and then not getting their score. So I don't know if they're missing a step. We've had a lot of so I know they have to do lessons and quizzes in order to get a score, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So, and my emails back are always, you have to make sure you get your percentage, right? Your score. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, could you have any idea of what maybe they're missing, that they're saying they completed the assignment, but they're not getting their score?
Yeah, I could speak to that. That's come up a few times. Okay. What ends up happening is that when they're completing a lesson, there's a box that pops up and they have to click next to move on or go back to their main menu. A lot of students are thinking that ends the lesson for them, and that's not necessarily quite true. They have to click next to get to the quiz piece, to then take the quiz and then get a final score. So we always tell students, if you don't get a percentage, if you don't get a final score, that means you missed that one step of clicking next, that green button, to go on to the next piece, which is take the quiz and then get a final score for it.
Yeah, and like I said, this is going to start July 6th, so I would totally encourage just turn it off for a couple of weeks. So this is something that's available July 6th. And to the team, what's your recommendation as far as how much time? We don't want students spending hours on this thing. What would you recommend? How many minutes per day would you say, as a parent, you would encourage?
So our recommendation when we see good things happening per week is 30 to 45 minutes per week is when we really see good things happening. So if you're thinking 10, maybe 15 minutes a day, I think that'd be appropriate in a remote learning environment. An hour a day is not appropriate. They're going to get fatigued. They're going to want to toss that computer out the window. So if you think 10 to 15 minutes a day, maybe on the lessons and maybe 10 minutes on the learning games, I think that would be appropriate to not get overuse. Because with anything, any type of thing, you're going to get
To watch this video or for more information about our summer learning opportunities, please visit our district website, newbedfordschools.org, or call us using our family support line, 508-997-4515.